Hi, this is Dungeons of Dreadmore, a game that wants to punch your anus until it prolapses with a big metal fist named after 4 different references to 4 different types of media you have never seen. I'm playing this with both the DLCs Realm of the Diggle God and You Have to Name the Expansion Something. Fun fact, you get an achievement for clicking on it and editing the name, and I chose Expand D's for obvious reasons. With that out of the way, I hit New Game, and there's this big list of skills you get to pick from that all do something. In the end, I picked Swords because I remember them being pretty common and good. Dual Wielding so I can beat the tar out of people twice as fast. Vampirism, because why eat food when you can instead just obsessively eat every person you've ever met? Don't worry, we'll get to that. Artful Dodger, because getting hit is cringe. Assassination, because getting crits is based on what? Glad you asked. Based on the principles of Necronom Economics, Volume 1. Oh, and Blood Magic, because it's kinda good, even though we don't need it at all. It fit the theme. While I sit here and struggle on naming this character, I'm going to outline that the goal is to beat the game. There's nothing more to it. I have never seen the ending to this game, let alone the DLC. So, this is going to be a unique experience for everyone involved. So popping into the first level and ignoring all tutorials shown to me, the first thing that I do is immediately fiddle with the controls and open up my character screen. I will be talking about what these stats are as they become relevant, because I didn't bother to even look at any of them until about halfway through this floor. That being said, I believe the next thing I do is immediately walk down, find a potion, stare at it for a minute, put it in my inventory, and then instead of checking any of these vending machines because I don't need to eat or drink anything being a vampire, I walk over to a door and immediately open it, finding our first enemy. This is a Diggle. Somewhere between a mole and a drill, this thing is going to be the most common enemy in the dungeon. This is what we do with Diggles. As you can see from this very unbusy picture, whenever we attack something, it shows us which abilities activate, often on top of each other. Right now, what it's showing is Vampiric Attack, which we're getting from Vampire, giving us some health back for hitting this thing, and Blood Mana from Blood Mage, meaning that as we kill it, we get mana back. None of these will matter at the moment, but as we get further into the game, they will be immensely important. Immediately walking further into the room, we get bitten by a Diggle from around the corner. We then crit the Diggle. Now on this crit, you can see maybe the word Blackjack floating around there somewhere. That is our first ability from Assassin, meaning that on a crit, sometimes we stun the creature. Now that the creature is stunned in a corner, in the middle of nowhere, all we have to do is bonk it. Coming back to the main room, I open the food vendor, try to sell the Diggle egg that we got from that dead Diggle, realize I can't, try a second time for some reason, give up, and then immediately walk over to the drink vendor. Can't do anything with this now because we don't have any money, so I instead just go to the next door and kick it the fuck in. Walking into the next room, I debate about drinking out of this fountain. It could do literally anything, and there's tons of them all over the dungeon. I decide that's not a great idea, loot some beer, and then I open up my skill screen to take a look and familiarize myself with some of the things that we get. You can see here there's a wide variety of skills that we can get from each of our things that we picked at the start, but they must be unlocked in a linear order. Having said that, I don't know what any of them do yet, so I'm just reading a little bit of them and then not really caring. We'll worry about it later. Flicking the lever and then walking into the next room, I spy a statue that I can smash for 50 XP. This is called Heroic Vandalism, and you should do it all the time. Then I see a big potato. Now would be a good time to explain that enemies in this game are categorized into archetypes like animal, vegetable, construct, demon, and probably some other shit that I don't even remember. Each one having its own strengths and weaknesses, like vegetables being weak to vegan class characters, and also constructs not having blood. Either way, after misclicking not once but twice and getting smacked for it both times, we give that sucker the old 1-2 buckle my shoe and it goes down. Although now I'm quite low on health. You can also see we got some copper wire, which is for crafting, but crafting is for nerds and psychopaths, so I won't be dealing with it. Oh hey, a big battery. Stepping into the next room, I immediately see something absolutely horrible, and then I look at it a second time and realize there are 3 really high-level Diggles in here. Pulling that lever might kill me, so I decide not to, and instead, I try casting the spell we got from learning Necronom Economics. Unfortunately, it can't go through doors, so I'm just going to look at my character sheet for some reason, and then give up on that and continue down the hallway. Spying for just a few seconds there a piece of armor, I immediately pick it up, throw it into my inventory, and then go to compare the stats. The only difference between this robe and the one we're already wearing is that blue thing there, which is Haywire Chance. Having more of that means that we'll crit with our spells, so I put it on and we keep moving. Opening the door, the only things I see in here is a dagger, a glyph that'll teleport us somewhere randomly throughout the dungeon, and then a diggle in the corner next to a fountain. So I go over, I smash the barrel, and then the diggle, not being able to get through the crate, decides to teleport to the other side of the room. Obviously, the next course of action is to use our new robe and our necromantic finance to purchase his death, with interest. This not only is an immediate payoff for our Haywire robe, but also allows me to explain this debuff that I've just gotten. This debuff here is going to make our maximum health go down by 1 for every time we cast this spell, and it lasts until that number in the top right runs out. As for the debuff under it, I believe that's supposed to be doing damage to us every single turn. However, because we're a vampire, I'm pretty sure we're immune to it. At least that's my working theory. So walking up to this fountain, I see a trap on the left side of me, and then I quickly disarm it to make sure I don't accidentally step on it. Then I notice I'm standing on a ring that gives +1 to block chance. So I slap it on, and then I go to drink from the fountain, hoping that it gives me some kind of buff. Instead I get poisoned, and I silently curse myself as I think, well, what am I going to do about this diggle? Immediately moving into the next room, we find an anvil shrine to the god Krang, and I don't know what a Ninja Turtles villain is doing leaving god shrines and why he became a god in the first place, but I do know that we can reforge our sword here, the sword now having a +1 bonus to maximum mana written in blue there. In the next room, I walk over to some wall fungus thinking it'll do something, smash a barrel, collect a potion of Vitus that at the time of recording I still haven't used, and then walk over to the obelisk, figure out that I can't do anything with it, and then pick up a wand of fireballs that we will definitely be using later in this video. Not finding anything in the previous room, I walk down south, decide to test whether or not vampires can even drink anything, and then a bunch of diggles climb out of the floor, one of them immediately getting shot in the face. Deciding not to look a gift horse in the mouth, I walk upwards to use this hallway to fight one at a time, realize one of them is mentally retarded and is trying to surround me, immediately obliterate the one that walks up to me, and then begin walking south, hoping that he will still be mentally retarded enough to step on the arrow trap again. Which he does. Well, one good turn deserves another, so I walk up and then walk back down, getting him killed and leveling up. Having already taken a look at this list of skills earlier, I decide to stop a problem before it becomes one and become more proactive in how I obtain health. Now with Drinker of the Dead unlocked, I can compulsively stuff the corpse of anything I kill directly into my mouth for a quick pick-me-up. Before I can test my newfound ability, a diggle with leukemia, no, that's only partially a joke, jumps out of the floor and decides to test me, so I exploded with my mind. That didn't work, so I do it again. After that I think, well, my health is full, but I really just want to see what this looks like, so I stuff the nearest diggle directly into my mouth. And I think that's pretty funny, so I do it again. After eating the second diggle, I realize there's an arrow trap still in this room, and I go to disarm it before my stupidity gets the better of me, fail, and then realize that because I'm behind this wall it can't shoot me, so I try multiple times until I succeed to get like 8 XP or something. This next part boils down to me opening a door and beating the tar out of a bunch of monsters while I think about my life choices that led me up to this point. Afterwards, I discover the That Cup King Arthur likes a lot of ranged weapons sitting on the floor, don't notice it, and have to go back to find it again. This is a crossbow. Crossbows are really good. Immediately afterwards, I find this completely mundane interdimensional cube that belonged to some guy named Jeff who really likes wine. And that's cool, I guess, but when's the last time an interdimensional cube has done anything for me? So obviously I immediately climb inside of the cube and start offloading all of my loot because it's starting to make my backpack smell worse than I do after an 8-day One Piece binge. With an empty backpack and a clear conscience, I immediately walk over to the nearest door, find a trap, try to disarm it to get something strange for a little bit of change, and then blow myself the fuck up. With my health pool now decimated, there's only one thing to do. Well, shit. I immediately start weighing my options, forgetting I have a wand of fireballs, and I realize once I take a step down and the zombie doesn't follow me, wait, he can't see that I'm here. Well, at first I think this might be because I'm a vampire. I realized that doesn't make any sense because I wasn't told that it was a feature, and instead of engaging with the stealth system, I shoot the zombie in the face. Continuing my train of bad decisions, I try to fight the zombie and then immediately get punished by being killed. While normally this would be the end of the playthrough, I instead decided to take permadeath off so that we could save scum our way through the game, get told that I fight like breakfast cereal by a tombstone, get shown high scores that I don't remember setting, and then load my save. Realizing that I lost almost nothing, I learn almost nothing from this experience. Armed with the knowledge that I can't fight the zombie while also being a paraplegic, I decide to fuck around with the stealth system to see how close I can get. And in doing so, immediately get cocky and then walk the wrong way. Deciding I'd like to be hit once instead of twice, I kill the bat and gain just enough HP to survive the zombie's hit. I try to run for my life, but my body is made with glass bones and paper skin, so the zombie is keeping up with me pretty easily. At this point, I give up and let it kill me. After reloading my save, I decide it would be a smart idea to go a different way. To my utter surprise, I stumble across this floor's Lutefisk altar, an altar in which we can pray to the god of Lutefisk by depositing Lutefisk into the Lutefisk altar, sometimes getting back Lutefisky rewards. No, I don't know what a Lutefisk is, nor will I Google it. Now let's please keep moving. Heading back the way I came, I see the zombie standing there like a moron, and it still doesn't see me, and I get about this far when I don't realize that I have a wand of fireballs, but do realize that I can just save scum and then sneak past it now that it's not standing in the middle of the room. Taking this opportunity to be a big wimpy baby, despite the fact that I've just saved my game and have no consequences to dying, I steal my resolve and then sneak past the zombie, slowly and tentatively, to go smack this bat in the face, gain some health, lose some health, and then pick up a jean jacket that has actual stats on it. Sneaking past the zombie and going back the way I came, I fight a demonic gnome and a slime, eat them, and then I get cocky now that my health bar is mostly full and try to fight the zombie again. Getting killed a third time, I finally learn my lesson and I leave the zombie in peace while I go do other things literally anywhere else. The next few rooms are just fighting, reading, and then occasionally looting things like the feral rat man that I am. That is until I come across this next room in which I find a helmet that's pretty okay, and then I drink out of the fountain, finding a ring inside. This ring giving a +1 to trap detection range, +1 to trap disarming, 2 health, and then whatever that other thing is in the top left corner, is by far one of the best rings I have ever seen in the game, period, because I don't see that many with more than 2 stats. This ring would have been an amazing addition to our run if it wasn't for the fact that tragedy is going to strike in a few minutes from now. By which I mean right about now, because I'm a dirty fibber. Having to play back through the same 3 rooms that I just played before I died, I realized that all the loot on the ground and inside of the boxes and chests are the same, but the loot that was randomly generated in that fountain is no longer there. That means that I just lost out on that amazing ring. This marks one of 2 events that will reinforce in my head that I should be save scumming always and forever. Continuing on, I find a joke scroll in the middle of the room after flicking a lever that I don't know what it did, smash a barrel, and discover something that allows me to teach you why the crossbow is good. This right here is a bolt. See, while the crossbow does 1 damage by itself, the bolt also does damage, this one doing 1 piercing and then 6 necrotic. With our new mystery Mousecatool now in tow, we can go ahead and move on to the next couple rooms. Or should I say, 1 room, and then a very, very big room immediately afterwards. After picking up some potions, flipping a lever, messing around with some things, breaking a statue for some more XP, it's just a bunch of looting and slow methodical creeping down a hallway, occasionally stepping on or disarming traps and killing enemies. Not a whole lot of interesting things happen until I get to the bottom of the room and find a chest that has our next very glorious piece of loot in it. Now that we have an actual sword as opposed to the wooden one we started with, we will not only be hitting more often, but twice as hard. Walking into the next room, I find a bunch of loot and some teleporters and decide now is a good time to do some inventory management and store things in my interdimensional wine cellar. Some of the highlights of this is a Tesla wand, which gives a short buff adding lightning resist and lightning damage to our attacks, plastic arrows that are just a common and decent ammo type, and rock arrows, which cause some of the most random things I've ever borne witness to happen when they hit someone. I suppose now would be a good time to explain some of the stats this game has on offer, seeing as we're at the point in the first floor where they'll start to come into play. The stats on the left are all your primary stats, representing things like strength and agility, although each has an intentionally humorous and vague name so you can never tell what it is without hovering your mouse over it. and everything else is an incredibly specific modifier that combines with the primary stat to determine how often certain actions occur. For the build we plan on running to beat the game, our main goal is to increase the following stats. This stat is our critical hit chance. More crits means more assassinations, which means potential stun locking. This is our dodge chance, which should be self-explanatory, and this is our counterattack chance. Later on, this will be a very big part in our winning strategy. By now, I've set off enough traps on accident or set them off trying to disarm them that I am once again at low health. After dying once more to my own inability to walk in a straight line like a normal person, I step into this room and see a diggle, and it's at this point I have an epiphany. I realize I don't need to fight these enemies to get my health back, I just need the bodies, and I am now holding a lot of bolts and magic wands. I immediately go to test out the rock arrows, I have no clue what it does at this point in time, and summon a pillar that pushes the diggle through a nearby candle holder. With it now at low HP, I simply wait for it to crawl over to me, smack it once, and eat it to get some health back. And with this, I am suddenly feeling a lot more confident to fuck around and find out. Walking into the next room, I see a bone wand sitting next to some kind of puzzle in which runes must be arranged in a certain order and then the lever pulled. I see a slime in the corner, turn it into a pin cushion with my new crossbow, and then I immediately save before pulling the lever. Inside this vending machine, summoned by an elaborate puzzle that I randomly guessed an answer to, is a pan-galactic gargle blaster. For those of you who are not old, British, or weird enough to know what it is, it's a drink mentioned only once in a book titled Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a book that has been rewritten and adapted by the author so many times there is no longer a definitive edition, because the author decided that writing the same story again would be boring and miss the point of the series. I would grab my copy off the shelf and read to you the passage, but I lost it a few months before my ex burned my crops, salted the fields, and delivered a plague onto my houses. So instead, here's some information about it I illegally screenshotted off an old NFT website. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy also mentions alcohol. It says the best drink in existence is the Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster. It says that the effects of drinking a Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster is like having your brain smashed out by a slice of lemon wrapped around a large gold brick. The guide also tells you on which planets the best pan-galactic gargle blasters are mixed, how much you can expect to pay for one, and what voluntary organizations exist to help you rehabilitate yourself afterwards. I stopped the video to tell you all this, to explain that when this game came out, everyone I knew would have gotten this joke except for me. And now, in the rotting old age of somewhere in my late 20s, I am only one of a small elite group of weirdos who would even recognize the name of this drink. At least in my circles. This is why I wanted to document the experience of what it's like to play this game. Continuing on without buying it, because it's just booze and all booze does is give you mana back, I go into the next room and I continue the process of murdering things with a crossbow in order to eat them to get some health back. That's when I rediscover that crossbows and arrows of all kinds can't really go through objects, and I waste 3 of them trying to kill this gnome before I eat it. Next, I want to take a second to talk about these bookshelves, because every single one gives you a crafting recipe that I think you can read them all in a menu, but anyway, it shows you the ingredients you need, the objects you need to make it, and then the finished product on every single one of these recipes. And that's basically how you learn how to do the crafting, because without the recipe, you can still make it if you know what it is. So, that's why it's for psychopaths. It's because you have to memorize it. The next few rooms aren't particularly interesting, because I don't feel like stepping on any of the teleporters yet, and I'm just looting and killing things. Stepping into this next room, I find a Uber chest, which to this day I still have no idea how to open. Read the scroll and it tells me to make a wish and pull the lever. I immediately wish that the Uber chest is open, pull the lever, and instead it just summons a bunch of crack cocaine all over the floor that I snort up to get some health back. After which I drink from both of the fountains, hoping that one of them will give me a magic ring, but instead I just get superpowers. Continuing down the path set before me, I find yet another fountain, drink it, now being infused with the powers of armor, plaid, and fire. I waste all of the potential given to me by walking into the next room, setting off a trap that makes a big fart cloud, setting off several other traps, and then walking over to the center of the room to find it's empty, except for a lump of coal and some lockpicks. These lockpicks are extremely useful to us specifically because a lot of options that we chose at the beginning push us closer to being a rogue. While I don't have any specific skills that benefit from these lockpicks, they do significantly increase the chance of disarming traps and opening locked doors, giving us an easier time getting passive XP. It's here where I stop screwing around and go through our first teleporter, bringing me to the far end of the dungeon. I do a little testing and find out that the Eldritch Bolts I have leave a nasty delayed explosion behind, something I could definitely use to my advantage later on, and I loot this Mace of the Lobster. While we can use it, we would definitely get more out of a sword in the long run, so I tuck it away in my big bag of garbage. Killing this bat and then leveling up, I take the next level in Artful Dodger called a Kaido for Adventurers. This will make it so that whenever we dodge, it now has a chance to trigger our counterattacks. If you can't see where this is going, I am very sorry for how stupid you are.